People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Now, yesterday, I'm not going to lie, people. I had to watch the game again. I didn't want to do the player ratings because it's not pretty, people. It's not pretty what I saw. I've made enough videos about it. By the time you've seen this, I've spoken about Arsenal versus Spurs. This is the player ratings. You know, Spurs 2, Arsenal 0, in case I didn't say that. But it's boring now. You've seen me offer all my opinions, you know, before, during, after, in the weeks building up to this game. You know, after this game, I've spoken for how many hours in total. I've been on AFTV. I'm not going to go over the same things. To be fair, if you didn't watch this Spurs game, you know, Arsenal versus Spurs, North London derby, based on what I'm saying or what you've watched by other people, are they saying anything any different to the Wolves game, to the Villa game, to the Leicester game? Is it any different? You know, we're sitting here saying the same old things. Mistakes made more than once become choices. Players are stuck with bad habits. We've got, players are just underperforming, inconsistent and stuck with bad habits. We've got a manager right now who's not learning from his own mistakes and retaining faith in underperforming players. We've got a mediocre sporting director who's not making anything happen. And the culture from the very top is very meaty. Does this guy even know does the man who owns this football club know who Thomas Partey is? Does he? Does he know who Mikel Arteta is? I genuinely don't think he does. It's atrocious, and I'm seeing all the propaganda come out already about we're moving for stuff in January, you know, this and that, where the players did this and that. There's too much PR. There's too much PR. This is PRFC. This is team meeting FC. Nothing wavy is happening here. All I want to do is look like a fucking football team, people. Forget top four. Forget finishing ahead of Spurs. Forget Europa League. Forget this and that. I just want to look like a football team because that's what I'm getting jealous of now. We're looking weak. I don't breed jealousy. I'm not a jealous person. But in the football terms, I'm getting jealous. Because every team we play is just damn right looking like a football team. Looking like 11 individuals that have been training all week to something, that are fighting for each other. We look like a bunch of strangers. We look like a bunch of ringers. We look like a bunch of just random guys playing 11 aside. Taking a couple man were probably at goals. Brought through my man because he's his cousin. You know, my man chills on the block, come play 11 aside for us. We just look like a bunch of individuals. Like, it's just bare mix up. And it's a fuckery, people. Pardon my language. I really don't like to swear, but I mean, football isn't pretty. And if you can't take my language, imagine hearing what they say on a football field. In relation to the player ratings, let's go, man. When I look at it without emotions, I'm going to give Leno a 5. I can't ask Leno anything more of the goals. They're not his fault. Saying that, I did think his, just generally, I think his positioning could have been better for the first. Again, I'm not blaming him. It could have. Listen, Leno couldn't have done that, and it was a good strike. But I'd implore you all to just look at his body positioning. He is off his line. He does dive once the shot has been made. It is a bit too late. You know, I do think Lloris or a better keeper saves that because it's not. It's a banger from Son, but it's not amazing. It's not by his own standards. It's not the most amazing of strikes. It's great. He dribbled. He banged it. But I think we could have done a bit better. But for me, I'm not blaming Leno. You know, Leno can't have anything to do. We'll take that one. Holding, I think he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I understand it. On one hand, I think you could have made a tackle, you could have broke a man down. On the other hand, I think there isn't much more you can do. You know, you have to shepherd a man out. Bellerin's lost the ball. Bellerin's caught high up the field. Where is the rest of the team? It's not making sense, and this is why, not that it would have made a difference, I would have went with a back three, people. You know, you go with a back three so that Holding and Bellerin can kind of deal with that together better, and that was coming, that was happening. That first minute, you know, Holding tries to play that pass, is intercepted by Lascelles, so Kane's eventually broke down by Xhaka. There was another incident, they almost broke, and Holding actually saved us. I think Partey played a poor pass. Holding saved us with a slide tackle. So there were signs. It's not like these things weren't, you know, this is what I don't understand. You can see several things developing. How can you be shocked in the same circumstances that they bagged in the 13th? You know, Leno gets a 5. I give Holding a 5. I don't think Holding was that bad. You know, I don't think anyone was great, but I don't think he was that bad. You know, we definitely all could have done collectively better for the goals. I give him a 5. I don't think he was that bad. It could, the 4s I'm giving, they could be 4s. I want to give most of the 5s apart from Saka. Spoiler alert. I want to drop 4s, but I think I'm looking at it too emotional. When I remove my emotions, you know, Holding, I give him a 5. You know, bad. Like I said, he didn't play that bad in my opinion. He made a couple of blocks. He at least tried. Ultimately, you know, he's probably not everybody's cup of tea and probably not good enough consistently. And I don't think he was helped out with Bellerin, really. Not that I'm saying Holding played amazing. I give Gabriel I was going to give Gabriel a 7. I'm going to give him a 6. Because I don't feel collectively 7s are due, man. I'm going to give him a 6. It was a 7, but I've downgraded it to a 6. Not through any fault of his own. Just collectively, we've got a discount. I think he won what he could. He did what he could. You know, he even tried to bring the ball forward. Him and Partey probably could have done better. And when Kane palmed it out to Son, I believe, off the top of my head. But it's the same old performances, you know, same old performance, sorry. Gabriel played all right for me. You know, he can leave that field with pride. You know, he's someone that wants to play with pride. He's someone that you can tell has had to respond to adversity, because when he was at Lille, he was loaned to Dynamo Zagreb. He hasn't had it easy, so he's reacted. Partey hasn't happened easy for him. Left Ghana to obviously go to Spain and do the Atletico business. I'm not saying these players have had an easy ride, all of them, but it just screams that these players are comfortable. These players don't play like they've had to try very hard to be pro footballers. You've got Bellerin, who's been in that first team since he's 18, not really had any real competition for that right back spot. There's now three fullbacks including him. He is playing week in, week out, regardless of the performance. What does he need to see? What needs to happen for these players to want to get better? If you don't want to do this football thing, Bellerin, go elsewhere, because this ain't the club for him. This isn't it. This isn't it. He needs to bust out. I'm telling you, I like Bellerin, but he needs to bust out, and he brings me back to Bellerin. Bellerin gets a 0. I'm sorry. You don't know me. I tend not to do this, but I can't. There's nothing Bellerin did there. He played well. He didn't. He's at fault for 2 of the goals. He's not alone because it's poor on the transition collectively. But Bellerin's head never got there. And listening on Sky Sports before the game, he said, we know what we need to do, we're switched on, we're this, that and the other. He's the vice captain. If he's the vice captain, if he's someone that the players listening to, it concerns me, because I'm not listening to Bellerin because he's not playing well. And secondly, vice captain for me, I know he's been at the team for a while, but vice captain to me signals he's one of the most vocal. He's one to stand up to be counted. If Bellerin's the most vocal in this effing squad, then Lord help us. Simple as that. Less said on Bellerin, the better. It's a 0. I don't want to do the scapegoating thing. Bellerin, fat 0. For me, he's everything that's wrong with this football club in terms of symbolisation. I'm not scapegoating him because he's not alone in losing, but Bellerin is 0. Tierney, I give a 6 to Tierney. In fact, a 5 to Tierney. I think, like I said, I've actually originally had a 7 for Gabriel and a 6 for Tierney, but I've downgraded it because at the end of the day, we lost 2-0. So like I said, Gabriel gets a 6. I'm downgrading Tierney's to a 5. I think Tierney tried a thing. You know, they knew it was a Bellerin thing. They didn't target Tierney's side. Tierney tried to get forward. He tried a thing. You know, I did think Tierney, Gabriel, Tierney, Xhaka, half of it, Saka, all of them are caught high up the field for the second goal. Definitely, it's 4v2. It's 4v2. Professional football is 4v2. 4 Spurs attackers against 2 of ours. Against a team that's one of the best, if not the best statistically this season in terms of counter-attacks, in terms of goals scored, in terms of clean sheets. You can't, and in terms of exploiting the midfield transition, in terms of how much distance that midfield covers. It is suicide to do things like this. Mistakes made more than once becomes a choice. We're choosing not to learn, people. Tierney gets a 5. Saka gets a 5 for me. Not one of Saka's prettiest game. You know, his first touch was good, but I felt sometimes, well, a lot of the time, the pass didn't have the quiet prestige on it. He was letting the ball trickle away. Technically, he didn't show the sort of silkiness he normally does. But at least that 19-year-old, at least I can tell you what I saw from him. He didn't hide. I know you played a game of football yesterday. So Saka gets a 5. Xhaka was better than Bellerin, so Xhaka gets a 1 by that. You know, again, Bellerin, Xhaka, Willian, I keep saying it, at this point, you need to put in a performance for your manager. He's the one selecting you. You know, go and put 2 middle fingers up at your doubters. You're not doing that. You know, Xhaka is just a fire hazard. Arteta needs to take the blame because Xhaka didn't pick himself. We know Xhaka is an immobile player, lacking agility, you know, with no real positional discipline, and sprinkled with that is just a numerous amount of bad habits. You know, we're setting up to lose. Not that we are not to be the ones to keep talking about the United game, but is there any coincidence you went with Partey and El Nene, dynamic midfielders, against their dynamic midfield, and you did all right? You're going against Sissoko and Højbjerg. You're going against Kane, who's going to drop into that 10 role. Lo Celso is buzzing around there as well. You need dynamic players. Xhaka isn't that. You know, Xhaka let you down. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I've seen Xhaka play good in big games. You know, you know me, I'll praise and critique fairly, but Xhaka is someone that you need to let go. You need him to go now. It's not good enough. You know, if you're not... the thing what would make Xhaka a better player is if he realised he wasn't the most agile. If Xhaka was street smart, you could get away with it. If he said, okay, cool, do you know what? I'm one of the slowest on this football field right now, so let me go help my defence. You know, if he does something like that, it's fine. But when you've got someone who's just inconsistent, makes bad habits, plays blinkered, and just the physical attributes aren't there, it's appalling. You know, it's appalling. You know, it's appalling. A 1 for Xhaka, basis of playing better than Bellerin. Willian, he gets a 3. Where were you? Pointless crossing. I'm just going to move on. Tired of speaking about Willian. Partey, obviously, injured for the second goal and whatnot. But I think a half-fit Partey played better than what I saw initially. First 10 we looked alright with Partey. He was spraying some passes. He's won a couple of tackles, a couple mishit passes as well. But, you know, I think Partey played alright in the minutes he played, and I'm hoping that he's not bodied, so he gets a 5. You know, Aubameyang, you was better than Xhaka, but you get a 2. You get, where were you? I'll give you a 2 just because you had some half chances. You weren't, you was anonymous. I don't like to, just because you're captain don't mean you have to fly into tackles and shout and stuff. But lead, you know, I never saw it. You know, if I'm one of them players, and not to say, you know, you should be able to play well for yourself, but when you're looking around, I don't see the captain. Like, I'm not saying shout, grab the ball, try dribble, take a shot, it goes over, just bang it. It's the intention, you know, because in the first 10, I didn't actually mind that who shot. We had 2 wayward efforts against Spurs early on. I said, okay, cool. Listen, the poor should be hitting the target, but Arsenal don't shoot. We can't keep saying there's no creativity, this, that, and the other. It is valid, but somewhere down the line, Aubameyang needs to say, "Boom, I'm doing this thing." And you know, last game, Aubameyang looked disinterested. This time, he just looked defeated. Like, he looks defeated. He looks touched. He looks resigned to defeat. And you know, it's a 2 for him, man. I'll give Lacazette a 6. You know, it should be a 7, but I'll give him a 6, similar to Gabriel. I think, you know, I've been on Lacazette's case, but I'm not going to lie. I think Lacazette was one of the best players from an Arsenal perspective yesterday. No goals and whatnot, of course, but I think he stood up to be counted. He got involved in the doggy work. I at least saw someone that wanted to try and get a good result, a good performance. You know, I didn't see that enough. Every 11 members of that Spurs team did. I'm talking about 3-4 men from the starting lineup at Arsenal. Already we're losing the numbers game. You see, people? Moving away from that, you know, Ceballos, I give him a 5. Maybe even a 4, but I'll give Ceballos a 5. I don't think Ceballos did, you know, I'm onto Ceballos all the time. I don't think Ceballos played particularly poorly. I don't think he played amazing. I think he played better than his partner. By the time he came on, the damage was kind of done already, really and truly. I'll give Ceballos a 5, but I understand if it goes to a 4. You know, Eddie and Nketiah were chasing the game by that point. And this is what annoys me about Thingy. We've taken too long to bring on Eddie. We've taken, you know, we're forced into the Ceballos change. So that one weren't really a necessary sub by Arteta. He didn't deem it was necessary. That team is winning 2-0. And I've already said Jose Mourinho's record against us. And they're in charge of the game for all our possession and these crap crosses. Why is he making subs? Why is he being proactive and bringing on a Ben Davies to manage out the game? Why is he bringing on a Rodon to manage out the game? Why is he bringing on Lucas Moura as we try to get forward to give us something to think about? It's experience, but it's also just, it comes down to more proactive management. Arteta is reactive. That's at some point, as much as I think it's the players, and Arteta needs to hold his thingies, his criticisms, a team is a reflection of the manager, you know. You're we've been reactive in the transfer market as a club. He's reactive in his management. Why am I surprised that, you know, we're very reactive as a team? You know, at least there's some consistency in that regards, people. I don't think I'm missing anybody else out, people. So yeah, I've dropped Aubameyang's, I've dropped Saka's, Lacazette's, Williams, Xhaka, Partey's, Tierney's, Gabriel's, Holding's, Bellerin's and Leno. Obviously, we've spoken about Ceballos and Eddie and Nketiah as well. For me, people, if I'm looking at the both of them, if I had to, not that you know, we lost 2-0. There is no man of the match, people. You can't have a man of the match when you've lost 2-0. But I would say for me, I think it'd be between Lacazette and Gabriel for me. I think them two tried the most. I think Tierney and Saka tried the thing as well. So I'd say out of them 4, it'd probably be out of Gabriel and Lacazette. You know, but I don't want to be talking about that when we've lost 2-0, people. It doesn't make much sense to me. On that note, I'm going to get out of it. There isn't anything more to add. DG.